everybody, so I'm in Salem, Massachusetts. And Salem, historically in the late 1600s, was the location of the Salem witch trials, where over 200 people were accused of being witches. And back then, it was a very religious area, so people were thrown in jail for being accused of witchcraft. And I think about 20 or maybe 25 people were hung for being witches. And these are women, men, children. There was even like a 4-year-old who was accused of being a witch and thrown in jail. So it's just like there's a lot of history. There's a lot of sort of spooky history. My friend and I came here for a weekend trip in October specifically for the spookiness. Salem's also the location that Hocus Pocus, the movie, was set in. So I'll get more into that later. So far we've only been here for a couple hours. My first impression is that it is cool to be around so many people in witch hats and costumes and all that. But that being said, it is also very busy. Parking was difficult. We did end up going to a garage. Luckily, the garages here are very reasonably priced. We got to one pretty close to downtown, so compared to a lot of big cities, that's awesome. I will say it took us a long time to find a spot. We did a couple circles through the garage before getting a spot, very competitive. It maybe took us like 40 minutes to find parking in total. The first place we went to actually was the Essex Museum, which isn't necessarily about the Salem witch trials, but because of my low income status, even though it's in Pennsylvania, the Essex Museum is a national museum, so I also get free entry to that. It's normally a $20 ticket. And the museum was actually pretty cool in itself, despite not being about witches. It just had very different aspects from all over the world. Really like this one exhibit. And actually the museum itself, we got really lost in. I almost felt like it was like a haunted house in itself. Luckily, that museum was very empty compared to the very busy Essex Street. So very much appreciated having some breathing room. After that, we got really good food. And we also went on a ghost tour. So it was my first time ever on a ghost tour. It was kind of nice walking around the town in the dark with a group, but I was hoping that the ghost tour would be more spooky. The one we were on just kind of recounted stories in a relatively factual manner. Day number 2 in Salem, Massachusetts. It's actually Columbus Day, so a lot of people do have off work. But we luckily got here at 9:30 a.m., which was great. Parking was super easy this time around. Now it's about noon, and the downtown area is getting quite busy. But at around 9-10 a.m. this morning, everything was still kind of closed, and it was really easy to get around. To start the day, we went to the Salem Witch Trials Memorial. Most of the accused and killed victims were not given burials, so instead of being able to visit their graves, people visit the memorial. Some of the stones even had notes that people wrote in memory of the victim. I'm not sure if the notes are true or not, but they were pretty cool to see. One of the other things I noticed in Salem is that there's legitimate lines just to enter gift shops. We waited for maybe 20 minutes to enter here. I mean, yeah, it is a nice gift shop, but it kind of blew my mind at first that so many people are waiting just to enter. The nice part about that, though, is that once you're in the gift shop, it's not overly crowded. So I do appreciate that system. We also really enjoyed one of the street performers. I think his name was Kiltic Colin. He was a pretty personable, funny guy. We went and watched him for a little bit in the morning. Then we went to the witch house. It's not a large house, so we didn't spend too much time there, but it was pretty interesting from a factual, historical point of view. Also, very important to know that in October, you need to buy tickets for the house online the day of, and they typically sell out before 1 a.m. of the day. One of the other cool things about Salem is that Hocus Pocus was filmed here. Great movie, classic. So my friend and I visited a lot of the places that are shown in the movie. We also watched the movie before we went on the trip. Overall, Salem on a weekend in October is very busy and rather commercialized. It was cool to see and experience, But for how many visitors there are, there's actually not that many things to do. I also thought it would be spookier. Instead, it was more informative, at least from my experience. I was ready for some full-on magic, but I also do appreciate that instead of encouraging people to believe in witches, most of the attractions explained that fear and panic caused by the murders of people falsely accused of witchcraft, all within the legal court system, despite any tangible evidence, were put to murder. That's actually a big concept to think about. But I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching, and check back next week for another video.